The man I loved had everything: money, merit, success. But at the end of the day, he could not protect me from himself. And that is why we ended. And so I wish that I could tell you that this was a one-time thing for me, that I'm going to share one story with you and you're going to see how a man can have money and merit, success, and still not be able to protect his woman or his partner or his family at the end of the day. But it's not going to be just a one-time thing. I've seen this happen over and over in my personal life. I watch it happen over and over in my professional life as a therapist who specializes in working with men so that they can do this one particular thing that my partner could not, and it ended us. It ended us. You can learn what emotional security really is, gentlemen. You can learn how to see it, how to build it, how to cultivate it. And so you will not lose the love or the life that you work so hard to build. I want this for you. And for those of you who have listened to the podcast before, welcome back. You'll notice that we have a pretty strong pivot here. Although the Empowered Human Framework is universal in its desire to help you be courageous and have healing and belong, we are really focusing now on helping men heal, on helping men level up and recognize what emotional security really is, so that this doesn't happen again. With that said, we're going to launch right in, folks. It is a fact you can have everything you've ever wanted. And if at the end of the day, what you love doesn't feel safe with you, you will lose it. And we see this happen. I know that you probably have seen this happen in your own life. And I would encourage you to just take a breath and own what's true at this moment before I go into story time. You know, on this podcast, I do like to share real, genuine stories of human experience. I think that's important, that you're sharing your lived experience, not your assumptions about how the world should be. And so I'll be honest with you, as we designed this episode, I was like, I have so many examples of this, so many examples of men that I have been with who had the money, they had the merit, they were successful, beautiful examples of what a man should be. And at the end of the day, could not protect me from themselves. This might resonate with many of you out there, that there is this illusion of danger out there, that you have to protect me as your woman from this man who's going to come at me, or men who are going to come at me, and you've got to protect me from this. And the reality is, before you were here, gentlemen, we were doing our thing and there were men around us and we were fine, right? You don't have to protect us in 2025 from an illusion of danger. The most risky thing that I have experienced in my personal life, and what I now see in my professional life, specialty wise, is men who don't know how to protect their partners from themselves. They don't know how to protect their families from themselves when they're not feeling emotionally secure. And so, as I sit here with you, wanting to share a genuine story, I struggled to think about which one. I think about my first fiance, my first fiance over 15 years ago at this point, who struggled with drinking. And the reality is, we were together for 3 years. I saw this struggle. Every year I saw this struggle. And what I thought was, as the partner, I want to have faith. I believe that will shift. I believe that my love will be enough. And at the end of the day, what we see is that love is not enough. What we need is to recognize, if a need is not being met and you don't feel safe and you share that with your partner, a change has to occur. Now, I watched this happen with my fiance, who I said, I don't feel safe with this. We've got to deal with the drinking. What do we need? Do we need to go OAA together? Do we need to get you in a treatment? Do I need to do something? What needs to shift? And 3 years in, when I woke up at 4 in the morning to my house alarm going off, I thought someone had broken into the house. I was wild. I ran downstairs. I was like, what's going on? And I smell, as I'm running down the stairs, smoke. And I realize, as I run into my kitchen in my house, that my fiance is passed out cold on the floor. A pot on the stove had smoked up, burned out, and it was the smoke that had set off the fire alarm. And it was 3 years in with this man who had money, who had merit, who was successful, but was not emotionally secure. And he used alcohol to mask that insecurity. I stood there after waking him up, taking the pot off the stove, and he cried on me. He said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I was so numb at this point to this reality over and over and over. This man who did not know how to keep me safe from himself. That when he said that, the only thing I could think was, I can't raise a family with this man. I can't continue this relationship. And I had to end it. Now, it would be easy to be like, oh, he had a drinking issue. Oh, Nina, how could you not see it? How could you not grow and learn from that? Well, I did grow and learn from that, right? But the reality is I have this faith, and this is a me thing as a human being. I have this never-ending faith in people. And I've had to learn how to challenge that, right, folks? I've had to learn how to challenge that. But even so, my next fiance, who would eventually become my husband, different situation on the surface, same situation at the core. A man who had money, had merit, had success. And what ended up happening the day after we got married shifted and changed. And I thought, what's going on here? I don't understand. Why aren't you the same person? To the point where months in of me saying, something is wrong. I don't think our marriage is going to make it if we can't figure this out together. What is wrong? What do I need to do? What do you need to do? Do we need to go to therapy? What's happening here? Months into our marriage, we sit across from a friend, and I watch as my husband at the time says publicly to me and his friend, well, I just thought that after I got married, like I wouldn't have to try anymore. And he says it very nonchalantly, like this is it's a matter of fact for him. I watched this happen, and I still, at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. I still think, oh, I've just got to try harder. If I love this man enough, my love will be able to change this. He'll be able to feel secure. And the reality is, I watched as less than 3 years into this marriage, us fall apart. I tried everything in the book, you name it, I tried it. The fact of the matter is, it does not matter what your partner, your children, the other people around you are doing. If you do not have security at your core, gentlemen, it won't matter how good that woman or partner or family is to you. You won't be able to see them past your own insecurities. I watched our marriage fall apart to the point where I said, I have to end this. I have to end this because he doesn't know how to protect me from himself. The neglect that I experienced in that marriage, I felt to the point that I did not exist. He couldn't talk with me about anything. I watched alcohol come into the picture. Same thing. The distance, the falling apart, relationship had to end. All of the work that we put into that, not for nothing. We both learned so much, as I hope that you have learned from your relationships out there as you start to put yourself into the scenario and into the shoes of the people in this story. You might be me as the character. You might be the gentleman as the character. Start thinking about where you fit in this story. Are you the person who has the emotional security and you're struggling to find the partner who matches that? Or are you the person who struggled to feel emotionally secure? And the relationships have ended around you because of this. Or perhaps in this very moment, they are considering ending it. Again, not the only time that I've seen this happen. I have so many stories, right, in my personal life and in my professional life of where I've watched men with money, merit, and success leveled up in all areas of life. But when it comes to feeling insecure about something, what she's wearing, what she's doing, what activities you all do, how much money she makes. I have stood there across from a man that I loved after my marriage. Oh my God, did I love this man? This man has such an incredible, special place in my heart. And yet I watched as this man who was physically secure, financially secure, housing secure, beautiful father, beautiful family man. I watched as when we had moments where he was feeling insecure about something, and this is a difference, folks. If you're out there, I love to say, get a journal out, right? Have this. If you have an insecurity, it's a difference between you and someone else in how you expect things to go. So if you notice that you have a difference, you're likely to have an insecurity there simply because it is different, not because there's anything wrong with you. Everyone has insecurities, myself included. And I watched our relationship as this man with all of these things, in this woman with all the things that I have. I'm financially secure. I'm housing secure. I'm a great mom. I'm a family woman, right? I watched as two people who should, quote unquote, be able to hit it off and make it work, and in every category did, when we had an insecurity pop up, I watched that blow up on us. And not because I tore him down, not because I made him feel bad or told him he wasn't good enough. I watched as this man with money and merit and success turned into someone I didn't know. He turned into someone who could not see me past his own insecurities. We would fight. It would get ugly. I would beg him to see me. He wouldn't be able to see past whatever I had done that triggered him. I say this as a woman. I say this as a mother, and I say this as a therapist. Gentlemen, you can have everything you've ever wanted and still lose it if you don't know how to protect the people around you from yourself.
Quick break for a sec. If Empowered Human is offering you something valuable about courage, healing, belonging, or love at your core, you may want to work with me. In particular, if you know of or identify as a high achieving man, and I say this quite seriously because if you don't, I'm going to drive you up a friggin' wall. High achiever that has leveled up in every arena except your relationship with yourself or your relationships with others. Visit empoweredhuman.love for more on how you can level up in your relationships with one of our Empowered Human intensives. Intensives understand the value of your time. Of the 3 that I offer, Walk into Courage covers a month's worth of weekly sessions in just 2 hours. Dive into Courage is a 3-day intensive that can cover up to 6 months worth of sessions. And Ascend into Courage is a year-long program to give you the skills and the network you need to level up for lifelong emotional security. When it comes to leveling up in your relationships, I got you. Head to empoweredhuman.love for more, but for now, back to the episode.
Let's say that you're in my shoes, and here's the thing. You are not emotionally secure all the time. I love you, I do, but you are not, even if you've done the work. I like to make sure that we are all calling ourselves in. This is the empowered human way. You have got to take responsibility for what you do, your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own behaviors. You've got to take responsibility for that. Accountability is what you do for other people. You hold other people accountable. And I think these are really important words for us as we model right now, calling myself in this case, taking responsibility for my part in these relationships, and also the importance of holding accountability. When I think about why I stayed in these relationships, right, for years in some cases, but not all of them. I learned and I got quicker and quicker at recognizing that if the pattern didn't change, that I had to leave. In each of these relationships, the thing that I did by not leaving was I overstayed the welcome, first off. But what I did was in my own insecurity. Maybe I won't find somebody else. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this is everything that I need to put all my eggs into this basket. Those were my insecurities. And it's what kept me in the relationships for so long. It's also what kept me forgiving these men that I love, forgiving them over and over and over to the point where I had no grace left to give. And I forgave them whether they changed or not. And the reality is, right, in particular in the first 2 relationships that I mentioned in the stories here, they did not change. And so the fault that I had, that I can take responsibility for, is what I essentially did by not leaving or not setting a boundary and maintaining a consequence that I would leave and following through on that. The thing that I did was I actually allowed them, enabled them in some cases, to continue doing the same thing that they'd always done, which only got us the same thing that we'd always gotten. So I want to be able to call myself in, and I want to invite you to call yourself in and take action on this. Where are the pieces that you really do need to take responsibility for? Did you stay and let them continue to treat you the same way that they'd been treating you without changing? Did you not share that you felt unsafe, right? What can we take responsibility for and hopefully shift the narrative in this case. One of the other pieces that I mentioned was being able to hold a boundary, not only setting the boundary, but maintaining that if you don't follow this boundary and make me feel safe by doing what you need to do, right? By taking responsibility for your actions. If you can't do that and help me feel safe in this relationship, then the consequence is that I will have to leave because I deserve to feel safe and you deserve to not have to make someone else feel unsafe. I know that's an odd way for us to put that, but it is, in fact, the way to put this because the reality is, as I share these stories with you of past loves of mine and of, right, past professional experiences and future episodes that we share, as I share this with you, the reality is none of these men were evil. None of them were bad guys. They were men who struggled to connect emotionally with themselves, and they struggled to connect with me because of that. It's really that simple. We have an emotional security spectrum because of my personal life and because of the professional work that I've done to help men level up with emotional security. We now have an emotional security spectrum. Again, y'all, it's not magic. There are steps to get from one phase to the next. And I will tell you what those phases are very quickly here, but I'm going to invite you to do the quiz. We have a quiz on this, and you can figure out where you are on the spectrum and what the next steps are. Demystify this for yourself. Level up. It is totally possible. And I absolutely want this for you because the reality is, when you look at the 6 profiles that we have, from emotionally unavailable, right, the least secure you can be, emotionally unavailable, to emotionally aware, emotionally literate, we keep going. You have emotionally available, emotionally vulnerable, and emotionally secure. There are steps to move from one of these sections to the next. And I would want you to know what those steps are because you do not need to be where you are, but you cannot get to where you would like to go without growth and without change. I share these 6 steps with you, and I want this for you to know where you are and where you can go, because the reality is that if you are emotionally unavailable, Jack, and you want to be with emotionally available Sally, the reality is you cannot be with her without sparks flying. You can't. You can be in a happy, fulfilling relationship with emotionally unavailable Anne. If you are emotionally unavailable Jack, you actually can have a secure, fulfilling relationship with someone who has the same or similar, right, emotional security to you. And I say this to you not because I want you to absolutely be emotionally secure and say that that's what you have to be. I want you to be as secure as you can be. And I want that for you at your core, not performatively, but really, truly at your core. And so I do invite you to take the quiz. I do invite you to learn where you are in the spectrum. And I do invite you to level up and say, man, if I am not happy, if I am not fulfilled where I am right now emotionally, in my relationships, romantically, as a parent, friendship wise, or in business, if I'm not fulfilled in my relationships, could this be the answer that solves the problem? Could I just need to level up with my emotional security? Something to think on, folks. A lot of people at this point in the story, right, are going to be putting themselves into the shoes of me, of the gentleman in the story, of any of them. And I want you to do that. I want you to figure out how to lean into your edge, maybe even wrangle with some discomfort here, and ask yourself, where do I belong in this story? Am I happy with where I am in this story? And if I'm not, am I willing to change that? Let's bring in some psychoeducation here. Yes, let's bring in some pieces around why I now do this work, why we've had the pivot in the podcast. I am tired. I am tired of being a woman, a person, a partner, a human being who has done so much work to be emotionally secure. And I want us to tag that word right there. So much work to be emotionally secure. And I'm struggling with men who have everything that they should, but they're lacking the emotional security and they don't know what it looks like. They don't even realize they're missing it. I want us to tag that word emotional security because I want you to explore what it really means. We have an equation here, and I want you to write this down. Emotional fitness plus emotional wealth is what equals emotional security. And I think this is really critical because emotional fitness is the skills that you have to regulate yourself so that you are not coming out your face at someone else. You are not scaring someone else or making them feel unsafe with you. It doesn't mean you're not passionate. It doesn't mean you don't have big feelings. What it means is that you recognize as an emotionally fit individual that you can express yourself in ways that bring people in and connect with you and help them feel safe. They can connect with you and help them feel safe, help you feel safe so that both of you can move forward with something that is better than you ever thought possible. Emotional fitness, that's what it is. And there's skills, very particular skills. It's not magic that go with that, okay? Emotional regulation. If that's where you think you are, write that down. You're going to want some skills for that, which we are definitely going to be going over in the next 7 episodes, okay, guys? I want to continue though, because emotional fitness plus emotional wealth is what equals emotional security. Emotional wealth is the relationships that you have that you are intentionally investing in so that you get a particular return. You want relationships that build you up. You want people around you that are cheerleaders for you and that you can be a cheerleader for. Because if you have people around you who are constantly black holes, that constantly taking from you, I'm going to say this, friends, you've got a poor emotional investment right there. Your emotional wealth is at risk if that is the case. And so, emotional wealth, if that's where you are and you're building emotional wealth, you're really working on relationships. Both of these things, emotional fitness and emotional wealth over time, are what is going to lead to emotional security. For you to be able to say, you know what? I don't need to invalidate you or myself. I can be myself everywhere I go, pretty much. And when I can't, guess what I do? I use my emotional fitness skills to say, I'm not going to jump at you right now. I'm not going to attack you. I want you to feel safe and I want to feel safe. And you know what? Right now, I can't do that. So I'm going to step away. That's emotional fitness, folks. Both the ability to stay in the discomfort and work it out, but also to step away until you can work it out. Emotional wealth is the relationships you're building. If you're not emotional wealthy right now and you say, man, it's really my relationships that I got to work on, Nina, I hear you. We have methods of doing this. It's not magic. We have very particular steps of how to gain emotional wealth so that you can be emotionally secure everywhere you go. And I bring this equation up, I hope, on this episode that focuses on why we've pivoted, why I want more men to have access to skills that I honestly believe our society has denied of them. I believe that men have not had accessibility to these skills. And I want to throw that out the fucking window, guys. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I am lit over this. I am, but I am also lit up over this. I have a mission and I want to get it out there. And so I want us to move in to some of the other language. Emotional security, you've already got. What does that mean for you? Emotional fitness, emotional wealth. What does it mean for you? Some other pieces, how to protect someone from yourself. This is that safety piece. Yes, you deserve to feel safe, and so do they. One of you cannot matter more than the other in an empowered relationship. If you're about powered relationships, you're okay with minimizing, misrepresenting, and outright rejecting someone. In a powered relationship, you're okay with invalidating someone. But we don't do that on this podcast. We're working with empowered humans. Yes, ladies, gentlemen, and human beings who are saying, you know what? I am high achieving and I would love to achieve safety with both myself and my partner as we move forward, or my children, or my friends, or my family, and so on and so forth. In your relationships, you want to be emotionally secure. I want that for you. And so, the other piece that we're going to be looking at here that I want you to take with you is the difference between what that looks like on the outside, money, merit, success, emotional security, what it looks like on the outside, and what's happening on the inside. Because a lot of us, and I see you out there, a lot of you, us, are performing what it is to be emotionally secure. You look confident, you look secure on the outside, but on the inside, you hear the thoughts that say you're not good enough or they're not good enough. You hear the judgment toward yourself and toward others. And it is constant, my friend. I know it because I've been there. I know it because I've seen it in men that I love. I know it because I see it in the men that I work with. It's not a mystery. It's a human reality that what happens on the surface is not necessarily what's happening at your core. And I want you to feel confident and secure at your core. And this is why we're leaning into our edge around emotional security. Okay. Masking, if you don't know what that is, because I've said that, and I have a very, playful approach around this. Masking is when you hide parts of who you are for somebody else's comfort, usually. And gentlemen, here's the number one way that you are doing this. Typically in my personal life and professional life, this is what we see. You mask your discomfort because you want me to feel comfortable. You think I can't handle it, or you want to protect me from that discomfort. And so you'll tell me, I say, oh, I'm really worried that things aren't going to work out. I'm worried that we're moving too fast or that it's going to be too soon to meet your family, for example. I'm worried about this and I express this to you because I want us to hold space for that. And you say, don't even worry about it. It's going to be fine. You're overreacting. Don't even worry about it. You are masking at this point. An emotionally secure individual at that point is going to say, I hear you. And you know what? It might be. And I'm still going to have you. We're still going to make it work. And if something goes awry, we're going to part ways and we're going to be okay. Here's our plan. And you're making a plan of action. Okay. Every episode of this podcast, I invite you to lean into your edge. I invite you to listen to a genuinely human story, some of which will be mine and some of which will be other people's stories as we move forward in our episodes for Empowered Human. I invite you to learn new things, which in this case is emotional fitness, wealth, security. What does that mean for you? What is masking for you? Are you masking? Are you hiding parts of how you really feel about something for somebody else's comfort? And do you know how to protect someone from yourself? That is the golden piece. Do you know how to protect someone from yourself? If not, if anything in this episode has rung out to you yet, here is what I also always invite. At the end of every episode, I want to invite you to an adventure challenge. It's something I want to invite you to do, time sensitive, folks, between this episode and the next episode, which is every week, okay? Here is your adventure challenge. Put yourself in the shoes of someone in the story if you haven't already. Gain the knowledge of what we've already sort of trickled in this episode for you to consider. And this week, ask yourself, who or what do you try to protect others from? Is it their discomfort, their sadness, their anger, their boredom? What is it that you're busy trying to protect others from? And what would it look like if you stopped protecting them, stopped saying, oh no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Stop protecting them from it and actually said, man, I see your fear. I see your sadness. I see your discomfort. And I want to hold space for that. Gentlemen, what would it be like if you didn't try to save, if you just held space? That is my adventure challenge to you this week. I hope that it is helpful, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.